My name is Simeon Nofa, and the purpose of this training or this program is to first of all create awareness for blockchain and emerging technologies for staffs in public sector on blockchain, cybersecurity, and as well tokenization of real-world assets. The goal is to empower these civil servants and policymakers on the awareness and the knowledge so that they can foster development, innovations, and growth. Also adding economic value to the state through talent development, solutions providing, and as well policies and regulations. Thank you very much. So without wasting so much of our time, we'll just jump into the business of the day, talking about blockchain. And we have partnered with us in this event, like Honorable Commissioner mentioned, it's IntMax, the blockchain protocol. They will be coming to tell us about blockchain technology specifically, and also a sister agency that is also bringing us knowledge in cybersecurity, talking about service systems, from all the way from Texas, United States. Yeah, so what is this whole fuse about? What is the blockchain? Why so much noise about blockchain, and why is it important for us, especially as the public sector and even as individuals? So today I'll be taking us through the journey from what the blockchain is all about, the characteristics of the blockchain technology, benefits to the public sector, the national blockchain policy. Many of us do not know that Nigeria has a national blockchain policy. We are going to find out today. Then the roadmap into the adoption of blockchain technologies. We are going to see all of that today. But let's first start. What is the blockchain? The blockchain is simply the distribution of data, the decentralization of data. That is what the blockchain is all about. Just the decentralization of data. And how do I mean? Many of us are used to centralization of data, what we call the Web 2.0, where it's a client to a server approach. Let me break this down. Many of us have bank accounts, right? You have bank accounts with either Zenith Bank, GT Bank, Fidelity Bank, any of the banks. So this account, your data or your information or your account information is stored on a central server. It's stored in a centralized system, maybe a data farm, but it's warehoused in a centralized system. So what it means is that your interaction with the bank has to do with you as a client interacting with the bank to retrieve your data. So your account number is actually the information or the number that gives access to your accounting information, which is credit 10,000 today, debit 20,000 tomorrow, credit 50,000, debit. That information, that data is what your account number gives you access to. In other words, for those of us that are familiarized with accounting, you can literally say that that is a ledger, right? It's a ledger. A ledger is just a record of information. That is just what it simply means. So blockchain is a distributed ledger technology where the information is not on a central location but distributed across several computers, what is referred to as nodes. Several computers. So it's not in a centralized system. It is distributed across several nodes. So, take for example, I, as a bread seller, I probably get flour, which is a raw material for making bread, right? And each time my my flour seller or my flour merchant supplies me flour, I record it in a ledger, an accounting book. that says, oh, he supplied me XYZ amount of flour at 5,000 naira. So let's say the next day he comes and was supposed to supply me 10 bags and was able to give me 5 bags. I will record he supplied me 5 bags, owing me another additional 5 bags, right? That exchange of data, it's between me and my merchant, my flour merchant, right? So let's say, for example, something happens and where I'm keeping those records gets destroyed by fire or by flood. And I've forgotten all our interaction, all our dealings. The merchant can come and tell me tomorrow and say, no, he's no longer owing me 5 bags. As a matter of fact, all the ones that was burnt in my warehouse, he has supplied everything, and those 5 bags were included because that interaction was between me and just him. There was no other place that had that record. That is why that your bank statement can only be given to you only to the availability in which the bank can provide information. That is how your bank statement can be given to you. There is nowhere else. As a matter of fact, my wife will say, let me burst your bubbles. Let me shock you. You cannot go to your bank and ask for a statement of account that is 10 years old. They won't have it to give to you. Because within 10 years, they believe that that information is no longer relevant and they would have destroyed the information. Somebody asked me, why would they destroy the information? Because of the infrastructure costs and space. They need the space. They have millions of customers. They need space to also store more information because it's a central location. So because of that, they discard those information and so that they can add new information because it's a centralized system. And other problems associated with centralized system include single point failure. If the server is down, you go to the bank, they tell you server is down, or you don't even need to go to the bank these days. Your mobile app, once you cannot do transaction, you know that the server is down and there's nothing you can do about it. You just have to what? Wait. But on the blockchain, it's not like that. The ledgers are distributed across the nodes, what we call peer-to-peer. There's no single authority that have access to the ledger. There's no single authority that you can tie the information to. It costs less, and we are going to see the incentive that is running the network. It costs less to maintain, and it's easier to have access to. And again, it is not, it is immutable in the sense that, for example, if, let me not use the word bank so that I don't, so that I don't start. But if somebody wants to play a double game on you that is maintaining your records, as we have seen, I don't want to mention any bank name because this is a public space. As we have seen, they can decide to debit your account, for example, or a mischievous debit or alert, you receive an alert. And it's because it's between you and the bank. The bank can only provide access to the information to the extent to which they can provide access to the information. You don't have access to anywhere to get that information except you go to the bank. And they are the custodian, they are the authority. But on the blockchain network, there is no custodian, there is no authority. As a matter of fact, each of these people that are on this network, they are agreeing to be on this network to maintain the data integrity of the network, either because they have a stake, what we are going to say proof of stake, or they are getting a form of incentive to maintain the network, what they call proof of work. So everybody has a stake. For this centralized system, you are paying the bank collects charges, the bank collects a monthly maintenance fee. That's the cost they use in maintaining their server or their infrastructure cost. But on the blockchain, there are other incentives that drives the maintenance of that particular data. Now, when we just oppose that into the various features and characteristics in terms of how that technology can actually enhance what the central system or the Web 2.0 or the centralized system can do, We are looking at, sorry, I'll come back to this side. We are looking at security, transparency, and immutability. Because the information is secured, because if it's in a decentralized location, for example, if it's altered, you don't have a choice than to trust what the banks tell you. The banks can tell them and tell you, oh, the money was debited for account maintenance. You say, oh, well, it's just 20 naira. But 20 naira times 10 million people. They say, oh, the money was debited because they needed to do. So that is just how it is. But on the blockchain, every single transaction, every single debit, every single transaction to the fraction of the nearest decimal, you can trace that transaction or trace that data or trace that information to anywhere. So if you layer that on top what we already have as processes, you can build a whole lot of solutions on it. That is what we are coming to tell you today. One of the easiest solutions to build on that is public trust. So for example, I'm going to talk about it, but let me just give us a hint. For example, the elections. You would agree with me that the elections has been something that has been neither here nor there. In fact, we always have issues. Especially, I'm talking about the presidential elections. And we run that on top of the blockchain. And everybody is seeing every single vote tied to an identity. Voted on this public unit, voted, immediately you have voted, it is time-stamped. It is registered on the blockchain. There is no point to say, oh, Vivas did not work. Vivas is this. They couldn't get to the polling unit. Oh, before the polling unit, all those things, everything as it is happening, it is time-stamped on the chain. And it cannot be immutable. Why? Because for you to change information here, you need the consensus of these three to agree. You need over 51% of the nodes to agree. And that is a massive amount of work. That is why today, the Bitcoin is still the most valuable store of assets because of one thing, security and immutability. That is the only reason. The Bitcoin is more valuable than gold. The Bitcoin, of course, is 62,000 times as of today, or 64,000 times as of today, more valuable than the US dollar, valuable than the British pounds. Why? Because it is secured and it's immutable. And guess what? Bitcoin is just numbers and alphabets. That is just numbers. It's a digital currency. It is not tied to anything, but it is tied to trust, immutability, and security. That is just it. That is what people are crazy dying for. So, security is part of it. It's immutable. It is transparent. What it means is that all access to the data can be accessed. Then it is decentralized. We've seen that. Then, blocks and chain. Why do they call it blockchain? You know, I mentioned that each of the data are stored on the nodes, and they are stored in a structure-like manner, in a block structure-like manner. So we have the data set is known as blocks. So the blocks, they are connected to each other by a chain because the next block must always refer to the previous block. That is how the blockchain works. So all these things, all this big technology I'm talking about, this is it. Data is stored in blocks. These blocks are stored in nodes. The nodes are actually computers. Actually, let me use the Bitcoin network because it's the most popular blockchain network. Let me use that for now. Because when the Bitcoin started, when it was launched about 15 years ago, 14 to 15 years ago, your laptop could actually serve as a node because the computation and the algorithm was not as complex as what we have today. Today, you need more complex computers. You need more complex computers, but the computers all follow the same principle, size and speed. You need a computer that is as powerful, that can accommodate the Bitcoin data. Then you need a computer that is as powerful to process Bitcoin information, the Bitcoin network information. So you need that size and speed. So you need special computers, ASIC. Yeah, so what can be done on the blockchain? Several things. I just mentioned the lecture to build public trust, international participation and collaboration. Ask me how. With the blockchain, because the data is secured, the data is transparent, and the data is accessed by anyone, we have citizens who want to genuinely participate in government processes. For example, lands, participate in land ownership. We can actually run our land registry information or our land registry data on the blockchain and allow people to participate. So when these tokens on the chain, it represents a particular land somewhere through a technology called the night. Okay, so in blockchain, there's what we call the non-fungible token, NFTs, non-fungible tokens, NFTs. We have fungible tokens and non-fungible tokens. So fungible tokens are tokens that you use for exchange. They can be interchanged for each other. But non-fungible tokens are actually tokens that represent ownership. They represent ownership. So when you own the token, you actually own the physical assets on the reward. So, for example, because remember, like I said, sir, these tokens, they are actually data of, so for example, this is an asset in the reward. Now, because this asset may not be liquid, what I mean is, I've met with some people, I've met with some guys, some well-to-do guys. They tell me that, well, for now, they don't have liquid cash. What it means is that they don't have liquid income. So, but they have assets tied several places. Some of them have land, some of them have houses. But because that their asset is not liquid enough, so they are not always okay. Sometimes they need quick cash, they need to go on vacation, they need medical expenses, they need to pay school fees. Is there every time they want to be selling land? And sometimes this time, when they want to sell the land, the buyer may not be available at that particular time. But guess what? If the land was tokenized, if the data containing the land, what are the data that the land carries? Title deeds, the size of the land, the location of the land, the CFO, all the data, if it's on chain, it can be used as collateral. It can be used as a collateral to take a loan. It can be used for decentralized ownership. That means multiple people can invest in that land while you still have the token, but fractionalized ownership. People can, for example, if the land is 1 million naira, for example, you can decide to distribute the ownership to 1,000 naira to 10,000 people. All of them have an ownership on the land. You collect the money, use it to do renters. Whatever the renter gains, you communicate the value that this is what you are going to gain for owning this token for this particular land. So you have expanded the ownership, the potential of the land beyond just being a physical asset. You have expanded it on chain so that it can do more for you. It can be liquid, it can be used to raise investment, it can be used for several things that you may want to use it on chain. That is the possibility of the blockchain. Now, so the blockchain takes Web 2.0 into a different realm entirely. Web 2.0, the land is stored in a central server. But the blockchain Web 3.0 says, yes, this land is stored in a central server, but it can do more beyond just having the data tied to the central server. It can do what you imagine it to be in terms of liquidity. The land is still yours, but it can be liquid. It can be making money for you on chain. The land is still yours. You can use it to get rental investment on chain. The land is still there, but you can use it to build more investment and trust on chain. So that is the difference between the land just having access stored in a central server than when it's on chain, it can naturally do more for us. So that is how tokenization, because when we talk about these things, we stress more on tokenization because tokenization is the future. And we are going to see that in the national blockchain policy contained in my slide on how countries like Singapore, of course, Dubai pride themselves as the world capital of the blockchain. And my dream is that Edo will be the world capital, or let me not dream too big. Let me the West African capital for the blockchain. People like Dubai, they're already building smart cities, raising billions of dollars on chain. Building smart cities, raising billions of dollars on chain, communicating value. Value is beyond what it is. Value is now beyond what you can feel and touch. Value is now what you can perceive as value. It is now beyond what you see and touch. It is what you can perceive as value. This morning I needed to, I wasn't having physical cash. I wasn't having money anywhere in my bank account. But I just remember I was having money on chain. And the ride of 10 minutes, I was able to liquidate my money on chain, cryptocurrency. The reason I mind the way I use the word cryptocurrency is because it has been so bastardized. So when we talk about cryptocurrency, we are thinking about so many, it's just money on chain or just numbers. I was able to liquidate it. In less than 5 minutes, I converted to my fiat and I was having money. I converted to my Naira and I was having money again. That could be your laptop. That could be your land. That could be your car. You are driving a car, but it's on chain. You have used it to create value. It can make money for you. It can be anything. So you can tokenize, and that is where we are going to. Tokenization, because there's a lot of potentials. As a matter of fact, the National Blockchain Policy says that by 2030, the world is going to make $1.73 trillion on chain. And the point is, how are we positioning ourselves for that opportunity? $1.73 trillion by 2030. Some countries like the United Arab Emirates, of course, Dubai, Singapore, Brazil, Japan, they're already positioning themselves for that economy. So we need to not just, because what happened in Web 2.0 in the early 2000s, most of us were consumers. Most of us were just sending emails and watching internet, just doing things on the internet. Why people were building platforms? People were learning codes, building platforms. And they're the ones that have now really enjoyed the benefit of what is happening in the Web 2 today. The likes of Facebook, the likes of Instagram, that they built platforms that people could interact. Taking it further, we have what we call content creators now. So at least people can get paid with content creation. But the blockchain is also going to take it further. That you don't need to be creative. All you just need to do is to see how you can communicate value and put it on chain. I'm working on a project where even MSMEs can raise capital for their businesses on chain. Small and Microsoft business. And I'm sure that Intmax is going to provide the platform through plasma, right? For us to do that. So it is cost saving. I just mentioned the cost of running a centralized system through infrastructure cost, electricity cost, energy cost, personnel cost. These are costs that is, because sometimes when we just think of we are a digital state, we don't understand that. I think commissioners understand the fact that there's actually an underlying cost in terms of infrastructure because you pay for the servers heavily for the servers in dollars. But I think we have our data center, they have a desk. But even after that, we also have to pay for electricity cost, energy cost, personnel cost to mount those servers. Yeah, so improve security, improved delivery because it's transparent, enhance investment and economic drive. I just told us how countries like Dubai are actually expanding their investments through just building product on chain. Oh, sorry. All right. So I said I was going to talk about national security, national blockchain policy. So in 2023, in May 2023, just before the last administration, the Ministry of Digital Economy, Science and Technology launched the national blockchain policy for Nigeria. And three things, just the three focus. To boost blockchain, they recognize the fact that blockchain will boost global economy by 2020 by $1.76 trillion, boost job creation, financial inclusion, national security, and accountability. For job creation, I can already attest to that. It's massive. It is massive. It's creating jobs for millions of youth. I'm sure that if not for blockchain and Web3, there would have been a lot of problems because some youth are actively getting paid genuinely on the blockchain. Genuinely. I kid you not, genuinely on the blockchain. So people are actively getting paid from so many activities, they participate in. Some of them are content creation, community managers, building products, learning how to write programs in blockchain, building products. Some of them, because the truth is, the world has become democratized. Opportunities have become democratized. Many people you see at home, you think they are not doing anything. But some of them are actually working for international companies and they are getting paid just on chain. And I think the Lagos State government is looking for how they can tax those guys. But let's see how it goes. Many of these guys are working. So there's a lot of massive job opportunities in that regard. As I speak to you today, the entire capital market of the blockchain is worth over $2 trillion. As I speak to you today, the entire capital market of the blockchain is worth over $2 trillion. So it's not something you want to play with. I said Bitcoin is the most valuable asset in the world as I speak to you today. More valuable than gold, than dollar, the US dollar, and any other tangible asset. Then, two, to grow domestic talent. So this is what we also need to be, and I'm sure that through the partnership with Intmax, we are also bringing that on board as well. Growing domestic talent, developing solutions, because that is where we need to start looking at. Growing talent to build localized solutions. I mentioned land registry. We will grow our developers in state to build solutions for our land registry, health management, even elections, infrastructure, and election solution technologies. Build technologies and foster innovation. So finally, what are the roadmap? We've started stakeholders engagement. We've already started that already. Strategic partnerships, we've already kicked off with that. Partnership with Intmax. capacity building, and I think that is where we are today. So this is going to be the first of many kinds of training we are going to be having. Though some of them may not be physical, we'll do some online, but this is just to kickstart that in terms of training, because there is still a lot to learn. And even myself, I am still learning every day. There's still a lot to learn because the technology is still very new. It is still a nascent technology that many of us are still trying to understand it fully. But what I don't want us to be, even as a state, is to become catch-up. Because Africa will do that a lot. We always like to catch up. We should actually understand it and be the front burner of this technology. So, solutions development. Mention real estate, health sector, the public service, the banking, several solutions you can build on team. Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the very wonderful presentation. I enjoyed it, and I would want to have a whole lot more of this. In fact, I've been having some of my colleagues, getting angry at, they're not here, because this is something special. But my question is, blockchain, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, like you're trying to allude to, has suffered some form of negative publicity. And for me, that it has suffered that much negativity, that means there's something really good about it. But are there drawbacks or disadvantages with blockchain technology or cryptocurrency? You made a little example of you not having physical cash and then you could liquidate an asset on the chain. I found that very exciting. I want to be able to do that too. But are there any caveats that you be careful about?
Thank you very much. Very important question. So the core technology is open. Anything that's open, there will always be drawbacks. The way you have good players, you also have terrible players. As a matter of fact, let me also shock us that there are more terrible players in the decentralized system than the good players. Not to say that there are not also bad players in centralized system. I'm not also eluding them of any blame of whatsoever. There are also corrupt practices in centralized system. For example, we just saw the elections where right in our eyes they play us with boju boju. But in decentralized system there are several drawbacks. One of the drawbacks is that people create, first and foremost, cryptocurrency are actually, there is cryptocurrencies and there are tokens. So cryptocurrencies are actually incentives that keeps the blockchain going. They're actually just the way you have a centralized system where the user pays for the infrastructure cost. So for example, your bank charges you account maintenance fee to maintain the network. In cryptocurrency, the computers that are maintaining the networks are actually rewarded for providing their infrastructure, for providing their resources, their computers, their electricity, their energy, their internet costs. They are rewarded with cryptocurrency. So that cryptocurrency, that incentive they are rewarded with, is what is now being exchanged in the real world as, on exchange platforms, and you convert to your money. In that space, there are a lot of foul plays that happens there. So that is why capacity building and training is very important. So you know how to guide yourself. So it's a very volatile market and a very sensitive market to play in. And again, you speak about bad press and negativity and also regulatory problems. Yes, there are a lot of regulatory problems because of the single world assets. The government wants to be the one to define assets, which is good. But people also want to say that let us define get involved in asset creation. That is where the issue is. But some smart governments have found a way to regulate it, not just train the baby and the bathwater, but let's say, why you are providing this asset, let us see how you can regulate it. For example, the US government, they are very smart. Very, very smart. I'm sorry I'm taking your time. They are very smart. Now, the US government, in cryptocurrency or in the blockchain world, there's what they call USDT. That's United States Dollar Theta. It's a stable token on the cryptocurrency. Stable token means that for every USDT, it tries to maintain the US dollar on chain. So for every $1 in the physical world, there's an equivalent $1 on chain. So that's value. So this is what happens, sir. For every token that is minted on chain, every one USDT that is minted, the company that produced that asset pays a $1 equivalent to the treasury. So for the US government, it's a way to even boost their economy more by accessing more credit finance to do business. So for every $1 that is minted on chain, you must pay that equivalent of $1. You must have the balance with the US Treasury. African government have not been able to come up to that. Nigeria tried it with, first of all, e-Naira, then CNGN. The CNGN was supposed to do that, but we've not been able to. If we do that, I can tell you, sir, that inflation will drop by over 50% because they will be less dependent on the dollar. You will not need to look for the dollar anymore. As long as it's on chain, you can swap it to any currency you want to. Take it to anywhere. With cryptocurrency, that is the fear again. I can put $1 billion in my pocket, delete everything on my phone, cross the border, you will not know. So the money, it is programmable, it is interoperability, and also cross-border. So you can use the transaction, you can go beyond, you can use it to do unimaginable things positively. But at the same time, we must be very grounded with the knowledge so that we don't fall victim to it.
My name is Ogbede Ifaluyi Isibo. I'm Honorable Commissioner for Digital Economy, Science and Technology, Edo State. Today has been remarkable. The first of its kind in Nigeria, where public servants are trained on emerging technologies, tokenization, Bitcoin technologies, and cybersecurity. Today we had our partners from Intmats and Ethereum come teach us and train us on how the public sector can take advantage of emerging technologies to improve efficiency, to improve effectiveness, to reduce corruption, and improve accountability. And most of us here who underwent this introductory training have been energized in our minds to now understand exactly how we can take advantage of emerging technologies in the public sector to improve our efficiency. For me, I now know, well enough to speak about Bitcoin technologies, tokenization of real assets, and cybersecurity. And this is happening at this stage in Edo State, the very first of its kind in Nigeria. And we're hoping that more states will borrow from our leaf to get our public sector energized in this capacity to be able to move forward and make more progress. Thank you very much.
My name is Usainde Isaac from Ministry of Digital Economy, Science and Technology. I want to really say a very big thank you to Honorable Commissioner of Digital Economy, Science and Tech for putting this program together, talking about blockchain technology and cyber security. It has really been an eye-opener for every one of us, and especially for me, talking about blockchain and what you can do with it as civil servants, and also how to improve the civil services in public sectors with the blockchain technology, and also how to protect yourself in the cyberspace. So it's really a rewarding training for me, particularly for everyone that came. So I really want to thank the Edo State government for actually investing in the civil service and public service is really a rewarding experience for me. Thank you.
My name is Elvis Izeko from the Ministry of Budget and Economic Planning. First of all, I want to appreciate the Honorable Commissioner for the Ministry of Science, Technology. I want to appreciate him for the great impact he has brought in by these partners from ETSMA and digital systems who have taught on blockchain, emerging technologies that we could get by reason of blockchain system, and also the importance of cybersecurity in our day-to-day activities within the civil service space. This has been a very impactful topic that has been shared by this training today, and this is something that will improve our functionality and productivity within the civil service space and our own personal life as well too. It's a very, very great innovation, and I'm indeed pleased with the impact we've gotten today, and I'm sure that this will definitely go on to ensure that we have improved delivery services within the civil service and public service space. Thank you very much.